I learned about this guy, Dan Wootton, from following Depp and Heard, and Dan wrote not such nice things about Johnny in The Sun, false allegations as a matter of fact, and now Dan has got allegations against him. The thing is, Dan was negative about a lot of other people. So I want to talk about some things Harry said about Dan and some things Dan said about Harry. These articles aren't fresh off the press, but they're not very old either. When I found out about these allegations at first, mostly I knew about Dan and what he said about Johnny and not too much else. So if you're like me, this video is mostly for you, getting into what he said about Harry, but also what Harry said about him. This here's from Yahoo News. It's called Prince Harry Calls GB News Presenter Dan Wootton a Sad Little Man. So you get a lot of people from Dan's past calling him things like this. Sad, pathetic, whatever it may be, and you gotta wonder why. Prince Harry has hit out at GB News presenter Dan Wootton in his newly released autobiography, Spare. Alright, so this was from maybe 2 or 3 months ago, something like that. Obviously, I'm not gonna read Spare. If my whole channel was about Meghan and Harry and the royals or something, maybe, but no. In a section of the book, Harry discusses his distrust of the tabloid press and stories that circulated about him. Opening up about the moment he found out he and Meghan's move to the US had been leaked to the press, he wrote, "We got word from Sarah that the Sun was about to run a story saying the Duke and Duchess were stepping away from their royal duties to spend more time in Canada. Quote, a sad little man, the newspaper's showbiz editor, was said to be the lead reporter on the story," which obviously must have been Dan. The Sun showbiz editor at the time was Dan Wootton, who has since become a presenter on GB News and is a frequent critic of Harry and Meghan. Harry added, "Why him, of all people, the showbiz guy? Because lately he'd refashioned himself into some sort of quasi-royal correspondent, largely on the strength of his secret relationship with one particularly close friend of Willie's, secretary, who fed him trivial and mostly fake gossip." And they say, before the release of Spare, Harry was critical in the media. I mean, which Harry would be. Honestly, if they were 100% right about Harry, it was all truth, he'd still obviously deny things that were negative. So I don't trust Harry either. And we've got this, what Dan said about Harry. Now, I'm not going to mislead you. This is just one of many, many articles that Dan wrote about Harry, and I'm sure that wasn't the only thing Harry said about Dan. Every day it's a new entitlement by this guy. Meghan Kelly and Dan Wootton lash selfish Prince Harry after court appearance. This one here is from June 2023, so not so old. Basically, Meghan Kelly and Dan Wootton are criticizing Harry for playing the victim. And he makes a living by making these appearances and wanting people to feel sorry for him and things like that. I think making a living's the wrong way to put it. Obviously, he's mega rich anyway, but I know what they mean. He's upkeeping his image by doing that. Obviously, we had the South Park joke also pointing that out. So I don't disagree with Dan in this case, by the way, but my point is, Dan's made a lot of people unhappy along the way, not just the Johnny crowd. And here's a tweet by Dan about Prince Harry going to court. And the thing is, amid all of Dan's allegations, when I look at Dan's accounts on X, formerly Twitter, and GB News, there were some things about these allegations at first. He defended himself, but what I see now is him ignoring it. So maybe he thinks ignoring it will make it go away, but Byline Times, the people mainly reporting on him with some great details, are not slowing down. So we'll see what happens. I figured it'd be nice, and it will be nice, moving forward, to feature a few videos on who Dan pissed off in the past. Let me know what you think down below. As I admitted, my history on Dan is kind of shallow still. I'm looking into more things. If you know about Dan and Harry's feud or whatever, or Meghan's feud with Dan, let me know in the comments. If not subscribed to, consider it. If you don't, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. Yes, I got my sheep today. For some reason, I really like this shirt. See you next time. My knowledge on Dan, when I found out about these obligations? These obligations out on Dan. No, allegations, not obligations. Take two.